Drop me in for the gap.
Again. So this video I'm going to do one on how to use a buy-to-let sort of template sheet of how you can work out you sort of whether or not you've got a deal or not. So this is my one. Again, there's loads of different versions of this and loads of ones that can go into a lot more detail and break it down to lots of different things. But this is just my particular one for buy, refurb, refinance. So if that's something you're interested in, then yeah, watch. So I won't go into depth into certain aspects of it because I've done that in other videos, but I'll just go through the points and then I'll touch on them as well. So if you've not heard about them before, then it should make it a little bit clearer. So first thing you're going to put in is your purchase price. Obviously, you might not know what that is just yet, but you can start to work out what you'll be willing to pay based on the numbers. It brings out the loan. Okay. Brings out the loan is what you do at 25%, which is generally what buy-to-lets are at the moment. I'm sure there's some products that are 20%, but pretty much 90% of the time it's going to be 25. You're going to have to put 25% in minimum. So sometimes, next one is arrangement fee, usually about 3% of the loan, but sometimes you don't actually get an arrangement fee, and a lot of the time you can just add it to the loan anyway. But a good mortgage broker will be able to generally find you a good deal without one as well. So again, not the biggest thing, but always put it in there just in case. So again, this will just tell me the deposit I'd be having to put in, and then 3% stamp duty, the purchase price. That obviously stamp duty can be calculated in different ways, but generally the properties I'd be looking for would be under sort of £100,000, which would be 3% stamp duty. I know that's there's a bit of a change of stamp duty at this present moment in September 2020. But that's not for buy-to-let mortgages. That's just if you're buying your own home. Okay. And legal fees, generally for standard legal fees, I put 850. You might want to put 1,000 to be safe, but generally between 750 and £1,000 is where you should be for a standard buy-to-let sort of legals, really. And then renovation costs. Again, nothing. I'm not going to. I've done a separate video on this, so I'm not going to touch on it in detail, but again, knowing your cost is really important. So you want to sort of get what you think it's going to cost and then add a sort of, say, around 10-15% sort of contingency. So then you know if it still works out you with that contingency in, then you know you've got a good deal. And then it gives me a total acquisition cost, so you know exactly how much money you'd have to actually put into it. Okay, so then you've got to work out your profit. And going on to monthly expenses. So you've got to work out your rental income. Again, I'm not going to go into depth, but if you go into Rightmove and sort of your area where you're looking to buy and look at similar style properties and look at the condition and then compare it to the one that you're looking at or looking to do up and see what sort of top level condition would currently rents out at. For this purpose, I've just put 550. Right, the next one's interest-only mortgage. So generally people do interest-only mortgages, people like investors, because it maximises cash flow. If you're doing a repayment mortgage, it'd be a lot more. So they just do it on interest-only. I've done this, if you can see in the corner, it's 2.5%. That is touch high, but I do that deliberately. You're looking to be getting maybe between 2.3, sort of around that sort of mark, but I do it 2.5 anyway, just to be safe. And then put in a letting agent's fee. Usually it's around 10%, but because of the ban on sort of making tenants pay fees, then the letting agent to compensate if that was to up their fee. So it's usually around the sort of 12% mark. I don't personally use a letting agent, but if I wanted to, then that's what I'd account for as well to make sure if I wanted to do that, then I'd have the funds to do. And then building insurance, I've put on £25 because in a buy refurb finance, generally when you have to insure it, it'll be insured because you're doing a refurb. It'd be insured sort of as unoccupied, which does ramp up the price a little bit. So you have to insure it unoccupied for the time that it's sort of having the refurb done to it, and then you'll get a refund on when you put it back onto an occupied property insurance once it's done. So you need to make sure that's clear with your broker, insurance broker, that's what's going on, and then when it comes to the time, it should be pretty straightforward to change over. And that should usually be around sort of the £15 mark, maybe a month, £15 to £20, but it will be more when it's unoccupied. So that's just something to consider. And then total expenses, and then positive cash flow. I don't know why I put that word in there, but that's how much you should make per month based on the rent and the mortgage and everything. So again, this was based on buy, refurbish, refinance. So what that means is you're going to buy a property, hopefully a little bit cheaper. You're going to do a refurb to it, and then hopefully it'll be worth a lot more than what you paid for it. And when you refinance, you should get some money back on that property. Okay, so on this one, when you're refinancing the house, I've got new value. So again, this is I'm not going to go to major depth about it, but this is important to sort of look into. So the way you do that is you go on your sort of Rightmove sort of sold house prices or whatever portal you use, and you see what's sold. You look at the properties that are very similar to yours, same number of bedrooms, same style layout, preferably the same road, same postcode if you can, and then you make a best judgment guess of what you think it could be worth. And then once you've got that judgment guess, you then still knock about $5,000 off it, okay, and then use that figure. Okay, because then at least you've got a little bit of a buffer in there. So, if you do get a down value, which obviously will happen at some stages, then at least you're covered for that. Don't always go to the best case scenario because you're likely to be disappointed. So this will then tell you your new mortgage, arrangement fee, and basically some of the stuff we did before. And then because your property is worth more, it means your sort of mortgage is going to be more. So in this sense, it's gone up from whatever it was, sort of £98 to £144. So it does eat into your cash flow, obviously. But what we're hoping to do with buy, refurbish, refinance is get a chunk of money back from it because it's worth more now, and then use that to go and buy another one, basically. And you keep repeating the cycle. Once you get a bit further down the line, sort of you can hopefully put all your money back out, but the chances are you're probably going to leave a little bit in, especially if you're sort of just early days. So these are sort of the important ones that I look at whenever I'm sort of trying to, I suppose, analyse any sort of deal. And here are the ones there. So this one gives you a new mortgage based on the sort of new value. And this is the key one that I look at. So new mortgage, original amount. New mortgage minus the original amount. So that's how you know how much money you're going to get. It says this is the refinance pull out of what the bank will give to you. So I know if I bought a property for £61,000, I spent 10.5 on it plus all the other stuff, and it revalued up at 90. The bank should give me £21,750. So that's what they should give. And it gives me a total invested there. And then another important one that I always look at is money left in the deal. So if you see above that, in this particular made-up deal, it says that I put £28,430. So that's how much money you would need to put into this deal to buy it and to make it work. So if you don't have the money, you've got a few options. You can either try and get someone on board to give you the money and give them a fixed return, or just on a few other things. But I won't go down that route. So if you have that £28,430 and this deal comes up, you can buy it. That's how much you put in. And then the money left in the deal, once you've refinanced, once the bankers give you £21,750, is just over £7,000. The key ones there, watching, you'll notice that the maths isn't quite correct there, but I'll explain that in a second, and I'll explain why. So the next one below is how many months it's going to take you to get all your money you've put into it. So you've put in £28,430, and your profit each month when it's refinanced will be at this one, £314, and it's going to take you 22 and a half months to get all the £28,000 you've put into the deal back out. Okay, and that's an important number for me because I want to try and get the money out as quick as possible. Once you get further down the line, like I say, the best deals are obviously the ones that you leave absolutely no money in and even make money on certain deals. Right. Next one is return. It's called ROIC. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but basically return on capital employed. A lot of people sort of overemphasize this. Basically, your return on your money. So if you're investing so much money, this is your percentage return. So if you think about the bank, you get a 1% return or whatever on your money for the year. This one is giving you a 15% return in less than a year, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, etc. So obviously it's a lot better than putting the money in the bank. Right. And then I always put this one below is working out what offer I'd have to actually put on the property to get all the money back out on it based on what I think the renovation is going to cost and so on and so on. And in this case, it's $54,000. So if you're feeling cheeky and you came across something less, you go, right, 54 and put your fingers crossed, hope for the best. Okay, so earlier about the maths not being quite right. That's because a lot of things that people don't account for, which they should do, which annoys me a little bit, and I see sort of other, I guess, people, property educators and all that stuff, they don't do it properly. To be honest, they're liars is the well, not liars, but basically they're sort of trying to make it out like it's better than what it is, and it's not. So what you have to do is you have to account for extra fees as well. So during the renovation, I mean, I've not added them on here, but as you see, you'll have other costs as well. So you need to add these to your sort of money left in the deal. So council tax, where I'm from in Doncaster, usually band C or whatever it is, or band A, sorry, we usually about £100. So if your property is going to be doing a 3-month refurb or a 4-month refurb, whatever long it's going to take, then that's £400. And where does that come from? That comes from your pocket. So obviously, in my head, you'd obviously have to account for that. So I add that on. You got water bill. Usually there's only one company, for example, in Yorkshire. And unless you've got a water meter, which is about £25, it's usually about £40 plus. Okay. And you're getting charged for that. So if you have it 6 months, then obviously that's whatever that works out, 250 quid. That's 250 quid out your pocket. Okay. So again, that is something that I feel should be added on and should be accounted for. Electricity and gas shouldn't be too much considering, but it'll still be a cost. Okay, and you're paying for that. You don't get depending on how you sort of do it, you'll get a refund based on what you've done, what you haven't used, should we say? But you still have to pay, so you still have to find the money for it. Okay. Also, other things like you might have to buy sort of fire alarms, things like that. That should be really covered in your refurb costs, really. But the other main ones I've got here, sort of like an electrical test, for example, that you've got to pay for, and also obviously the main one, mortgage payments. So you're gonna have to pay for your mortgage while it's sort of not being tenanted, and obviously that's going to be a big cost. So as I said, that's about £400 I've put down for 4 months here. So expected refurb 3 months, but I put 4 just to be safe. So you got £400 from that. You got your council tax. That's another £400. Plus, you're looking at least £1,000 just there that's not accounted for on other people's so-called property educated sort of sheets, and that is just ridiculous because you need to know the figures because that's £1,000 coming out of your deal. So that figure there is then added on to I've put down here the total money left in the deal. So I've added the void period. So basically, that just means a period where it's not tenanted to it. So, and then that is added on there. So they know exactly how much money I'm actually leaving in, not a sort of made up figure, basically. Well, not a made up figure, but you know what I mean? Sort of the extra money that you know is going to come out. And then generally, you maybe even add on an extra 10% there just to be double safe. And if the deal works for you, based on your criteria, whatever you set that as, then great. And then that's a good deal. And then you should be going to view it or whatever. So you should be probably making an offer on it and going from there. Okay, so that's my sort of deal analyzer, whatever you want to call it, and that's how I look at deals. I'm happy to send it over as well if you want to give it a look and you want to use it yourself. Just let me know. Hope you found this helpful. Okay, until next time. Ta-da.